dive into the heart of human resilience. Through 11 stories that blend genetic mutations with an iron will, discover the incredible capacity for adaptation of our species. Welcome to this fascinating journey to the edges of human potential and evolution. Number 10. Alain Robert. The philosophy of balance and the mastery of fear. The world knows him by the pseudonym the French Spider-Man. Alain Robert is not just a high-level athlete, he is a thinker of movement and risk management. Born in 1962, he marked modern history by climbing the most iconic structures on the planet: the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, the Empire State Building, and the Eiffel Tower. What makes his trajectory exceptional is not just his athletic strength, but his ability to overcome severe medical trauma. In 1982, during a climb, Alain suffered a 15-meter fall. The diagnosis was grim: a fractured skull, multiple fractures, and a deep coma. Doctors were categorical. He would remain 66% disabled and suffer from chronic vertigo due to an irremediably damaged inner ear. For a climber, it was a definitive sentence. However, Alain used climbing as a form of radical neurological therapy. He retrained his sense of balance by forcing his brain to ignore vertigo signals. Every climb he performs today, without any safety equipment, is a meditation on the void, where the slightest lapse in concentration would be fatal. Vital safety note: Alain Robert is a professional with 50 years of experience. His activities are carried out in a highly specialized context and involve life-threatening risks. It is imperative never to attempt to reproduce these feats. His story is above all a tribute to the spirit's ability to transform physical weakness into a force for spiritual ascension. Number 9. Slavica Pajkic. The science of natural electrical resistance. Electricity is one of the most dangerous elements for the human body, capable of causing instantaneous cardiac arrest. However, Slavica Pajkic, nicknamed the Electric Man, seems to possess an invisible biological shield. Contrary to popular belief, his body does not produce electricity. It functions as a natural insulator of prodigious efficiency. Science explains this phenomenon through a rare dermatological peculiarity. Slavica was born without sweat glands. Since human sweat, rich in water and mineral salts, is the primary conductor of current over the skin, Slavica's epidermis remains perpetually dry and thick. This natural barrier prevents the current from penetrating his internal tissues and reaching his vital organs. During his demonstrations, he can handle high-voltage wires, light bulbs with his hands, or even cook food through thermal conduction without feeling pain. From a scientific perspective, his case is a fascinating study of how a genetic anomaly can provide protection against destructive external forces. However, it must be remembered that for 99.9% of the population, household electricity is deadly. This unique case illustrates the diversity of natural shields that genetics can sometimes bestow. Number 8. Stephen Wiltshire. The architecture of eidetic memory. Stephen Wiltshire is an artist whose cognitive abilities challenge the boundaries of neuropsychology. Diagnosed with autism at an early age and having remained mute for much of his childhood, Stephen found in drawing a universal channel of communication. He possesses what experts call eidetic or photographic memory of absolute precision. The experiment is always the same and remains incredible. Stephen flies over an unknown metropolis, such as Tokyo, New York, or Rome, for only 20 minutes in a helicopter. Once on the ground, he stands before a massive canvas and, from memory, redraws the entire city with mathematical accuracy. Every window, every neoclassical column, every alleyway is positioned to the millimeter. His work is not just a technical feat, it is proof of brain plasticity. While our brains filter and forget 90% of visual information, Stevens records everything. His journey highlights the importance of neurodiversity. What was once perceived as a social barrier has become a globally celebrated gift, proving that genius can reside in radically different patterns of consciousness. Number 7. Yu Jianxia. Biological symbiosis and respect for nature. Originally from Shanghai, Yu Jianxia entered the Guinness World Records for a unique physical characteristic. Her eyelashes reach a length of over 20 centimeters. This phenomenon intrigues dermatologists worldwide as it involves an unusual activation of the anagen phase, the growth phase of hair follicles, which normally stop after a few millimeters in the case of eyelashes. Beyond the visual aspect, Yu Jianxia perceives this peculiarity as a reflection of harmony between her body and spirit. A practitioner of a healthy lifestyle and daily meditation, she considers her eyelashes an extension of her vital energy. Instead of seeking to correct this anomaly, she embraced it as an integral part of her identity. Her story is a philosophical invitation to respect individual biological rhythms. She reminds us that human nature is not a straight line, but a collection of variations. Her serenity in the face of this difference is a lesson in benevolence toward our own physical vessel, whatever its form. Number 6. Gilvanide Martins. Dignity in the face of mobility challenges. In Brazil, Gilvanide Martins has become an emblematic figure in the fight against the stigmas associated with disability. Afflicted by a severe form of lymphedema, a condition where the lymphatic system does not properly drain fluids, she saw her feet develop disproportionately. For many, such a physical condition would mean total isolation. However, Gilvanide chose a radically different path, that of visibility and the joy of living. She actively participates in her community's life, refuses to hide her feet behind dark fabrics, and wears vibrant clothing. Her daily struggle is not just physical, it is social. By claiming her right to access public spaces and seeking solutions to wear elegant shoes adapted to her morphology, she challenges restrictive beauty norms. Her image is a symbol of resilience, proving that a human being's value is never determined by the shape of their limbs, but by the strength of their presence and their refusal of shame. Number 5. Khadija Page. Humanitarian engagement against invisibility. Khadija Page has dedicated her life to transforming a heavy medical ordeal into a mission of global education. Suffering from syndromes involving the accumulation of adipose and lymphatic tissues, she had to face not only intense chronic pain, but also the sometimes cruel gaze of a society that judges without understanding. Instead of withdrawing, she chose to use the media to raise public awareness about the realities of often misdiagnosed metabolic diseases. Her strength lies in her ability to humanize cold medical statistics. By sharing her daily life, she helps deconstruct the myths surrounding metabolism disorders and pathological obesity, reminding us that human dignity is inalienable and independent of weight. Her influence is progressively changing the perspective of health professionals and the general public. Her trajectory is that of a woman who knew how to use her vulnerability as a lever for justice and empathy, proving that words are often the first step towards social healing. Number 4. Vivienne Wheeler. Autonomy and rebellion against dictates. Vivienne Wheeler is a poignant example of the psychological strength required to embrace one's biological uniqueness. Born with a rare chromosomal condition that causes hypertrichosis, accentuated facial hair, she spent much of her youth trying to conform to social expectations, shaving several times a day to hide her beard. In adulthood, after years of internal struggle, she made a liberating decision: to let her body live according to its own rules. By letting her beard grow, which reached nearly 25 centimeters, Vivian found an inner peace she had never known. This act is a profound rebellion against gender norms and the aesthetic industry that imposes rigid uniformity on women. Her audacity redefines the boundaries of contemporary femininity. She reminds us that respect for human biodiversity begins with the acceptance of natural variations, however surprising they may be to eyes conditioned by advertising. Number 3. Maria José Cristerna. Identity reconstruction through art. Maria José Cristerna, formerly a criminal lawyer in Mexico, carries on her body the story of heroic survival. A victim of extreme domestic violence in the past, she began a radical physical transformation after freeing herself from her abuser. For her, her tattoos, subcutaneous titanium implants, and body modifications are not superficial aesthetic choices, but a way to reclaim her own flesh. Each modification is a symbol of protection, armor she built to never feel vulnerable again. Today, a recognized activist for women's rights, she uses her unique appearance to draw attention to systemic violence. It is important to note that all her interventions were performed by health professionals under rigorous hygienic conditions. Maria José demonstrates that it is possible to rise from the ashes and transform trauma into a powerful platform for activism, using body art as a tool for psychological healing and a declaration of absolute sovereignty over one's destiny. Number 2. Igor Vovkovinsky. A life of grandeur and solidarity. Igor Vovkovinsky, the tallest man in the United States until his passing, lived an existence marked by the constant challenges of pituitary gigantism. Reaching over 2 meters and 30 centimeters, 7 feet 8 inches, his stature was not just a visual curiosity, but a source of serious medical complications. The modern world was simply not designed for individuals of his size. From beds to cars to simple shoes, everything was an ordeal. However, his story is also one of immense human solidarity. Thanks to a global mobilization, he was able to obtain shoes created with cutting-edge technology, regaining essential mobility. Igor carried his condition with remarkable gentleness and dignity. His impressive stature contrasted with his great sensitivity of soul. He remains a symbol of our society's need to adapt to all forms of physical diversity with compassion. His legacy reminds us that every individual, regardless of their size, deserves an adequate and respectful place within the community. Number 1. Hunter Steinitz, The Light Beyond Harlequin. Ichthyosis. Hunter Steinitz is a young woman whose life is a vibrant testament to resilience in the face of Harlequin ichthyosis, an extremely rare genetic condition where the skin renews itself at an abnormal speed, creating thick and fragile plates. From her birth, doctors were pessimistic about her survival. Today, Hunter is a global spokesperson for those living with skin diseases. Her daily life requires iron discipline. She must spend hours every day in hydrating baths and apply constant care to maintain the elasticity of her epidermis. However, when she takes the stage to give conferences, it is not her disease that people see, but her strength of character. She does not ask for pity, but for respect and education. By explaining the science behind her condition, she transforms prejudice into understanding. Hunter proves that a person's true essence resides in the light they radiate, not in the perfection of their vessel. She's a modern heroine who invites us to see beyond appearances to discover the indomitable will to live. Number 11. The moment of unforeseen cases. Clara and May. To finish this journey, let us look at the path of Clara and May, two young women who use social media to educate new generations. Clara lives with polydactyly, having extra fingers or toes, while May follows a specialized care protocol for a rare growth condition. Far from sensationalism, they share their daily lives with humor and transparency. Their videos show that difference is not an obstacle to happiness or success. By answering questions from children and adults with pedagogy, they break taboos before they can even settle. They create a community where every follower can learn that uniqueness is a strength. Their digital presence is a breath of hope, showing that self-acceptance is contagious and that benevolence can become a global norm through the courageous sharing of one's own reality. This journey celebrates a humanity capable of adapting and shining beyond norms. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget, every challenge redefines what is possible. See you soon for more discoveries.